Habit. Ladies and gentlemen, and fellow guests, today I would like to talk to everybody about habits, and in more particular, bad habits, because bad habits are what we really want to change. And if you're like me, you find bad habits to be incredibly hard to shake. They are who you are, they're kind of what you do. You don't even have to think about them, they're second nature. And a habit that I struggled with personally was organization all the way up until probably my senior year of college. And I always found it frustrating. I could never seem to shake that habit. And I read a book a few years ago called The Power of Habit. And the basic premise is that all habits are formed around three things: a cue, a routine, and a reward. So they form a habit loop. And not to pick on smokers, but it was a good example. And so if you think of a smoker's cue, it may be a pack of cigarettes, a billboard, or anything like that. So there's a cue. They get the nicotine addiction and they go smoke the cigarette. So that's the routine. And the reward is the nicotine sensation you get. So you go in this endless habit loop. And one of the suggestions that he made was, you don't change the cue, you don't change the reward, but you change the routine. So for a smoker, instead of going out and smoking a pack of cigarettes, grab a cup of coffee. And that might help alleviate or replace that, and you still get the same reward. So how I applied this, and what I want to talk about is how I applied this to really this thing right here. I would always lose this in my apartment, and I could never seem to figure out why. And the book gave a useful suggestion on how to solve that issue and how to break the habit. And it was identifying the routine that I go through, figuring out what my reward is, and then isolating the cue. And so my routine with my wallet was to walk in my apartment, wander aimlessly, and then kind of just randomly set it down somewhere, throw it. And as you can imagine, I'd lose track of that, and it would get really annoying in the morning when I'm trying to go get ready for work. I end up being sometimes 20 minutes later than usual. So needless to say, it bothered me quite a bit. And the next piece to this is the reward. What possible reward could I get from just randomly throwing my wallet down? Anybody?
Relief.
Convenience.
It's like I'm done.
There we go, relief. So, with organization, and if you're like me, you want, you don't have a predefined location for anything. And so if you come back at the end of the day, you're tired, you don't really want to deal with it, you just want to throw stuff down and get rid of it and not have to deal with it. So for me, my reward was instant relief, not having to deal with it. So that was my reward. And then the last piece was my cue. And I had to think hard about this. What was the action that initiated the whole habit? And what I found was when I came into the apartment, and this is all happening in milliseconds, but I would sit there briefly, almost thinking about what I was going to do with my wallet. And so that was the cue. So that was the action, that simple action, just holding the wallet right there. And so one of the ways I found that I could eliminate that habit was by utilizing a function of the book, changing the routine. And so once I had identified everything, so my routine was to walk around aimlessly, throw it down, and the reward was the stress-free way of dealing with it, and then the cue was holding it by my pocket. So a simple technique that I found was I placed a little wallet ledge. I built it, right when I walked in through the door. And it's convenient, I made sure it looked nice, and I made sure it was pretty easy to access. And so now, when I walk into my apartment, first thing you can imagine I do is I go for my pocket. So the cue is still the same. This time, however, I don't walk around aimlessly. I set the wallet on the ledge very quickly, and I go about my business. And so the reward remained the same. I get quick, instant relief from having to deal with that habit. So the cue remained the same, the reward remained the same, but the routine actually switched. Now, I know the wallet is a little bit more simplistic of an example, but I was able to take that concept and really apply it to everything organizational habits-wise. I had to think very hard about it, and it didn't happen overnight, but I was able to slowly but surely transform some of my underlying bad habits that I had with the organization. And so, hopefully by sitting here and discussing this with you and talking a little bit about the habit loop, I've given you a few suggestions that you can even maybe apply to some of your habits. So again, to review the habit loop, remember to identify the routine, figure out what your reward is, and then isolate the cue. Thank you.